I first went to Newfoundland in 1968. I got a job as a deckhand on a coastal boat, and it changed my life. What I like about Cape Pine is that it is what's called barrens. There's nothing there, no trees, no shrubs, just rocks with undecipherable shapes and colors. And when I went back last spring to paint, I drove up to the place and I thought, there's nothing here to paint. And that to me is a perfect situation for painting. Painting in Cape Pine, the shapes themselves were the subject of the painting, not what the shapes were. And with the watercolors, it seems like the subject of the painting is the medium, the combination of white paper and other colors in various shapes. The big starting point for every drawing is doing the frame on the piece of paper, which means choosing the point at the top left corner of the rectangle where the vertical and horizontal lines start. So that generates the whole shape of the image on the paper. Barker Fairley said, a frame tells you whether it's a painting. So when I finish, I've got the frame right there and I can have an idea about whether it's a painting or not. I like painting from the tube because the paint is right in my hand and I go from the tube to the board and mix paints on the board. It's so immediate. I like that part. I love awkward making brushes. Plumbers use this to spread something called flux on their copper joints, and they cost about 37 cents in the hardware store, which is another reason I like them. But the main reason is they don't let me be accurate. I paint on medium brown oil paint, and watercolors are obviously on white, and I love that difference because there's less control over the shapes of the white, even in the lines between two different colors. You can't make the lines uniform or anything. Some are fat areas of white, some are just really narrow lines. And you can't really touch one color to another because it bleeds, so the white is really helpful to keep things separate. And it's all this little calligraphy is to me what makes it a painting, and I just stand back and am amazed. Poems arrive the same way paintings do, uninvited and unlooked for, and take care of themselves completely. I never think about what I'm going to write. A word or two gets me started, and I just write what is suggested. Cape Pine 2. The ancient shapes persist, though new to us, who stand and watch the colors, crimson, straw, brown, jagged black, too many greens to count, and, oh yes, blue. We teach our eyes to examine, assess, rank, identify, discover meaning, but none of these reveals experience, which comes before all words, as do these shapes. But we who stand and wait expecting nothing from the shape-fed mystery, need not perceive, but yet receive an even strength of shapes which seems to draw us to just here. I'm jealous of the edges. The painting is defined by the edges, not by what's inside the painting. And I never paint outside the box. So I never feel creative because the box is right there for me and I better respect it or I'm in deep doo-doo. So there's this photo is, I mean, it's rough, right? And there's nothing in it. I mean, what would you do to paint that? So I notice tiny differences and magnify them, and there's just tiny hints of red in the bushes and that almost top stripe. So I punched the red, and knowing pretty well that nobody's going to go back there. And he said, "Oh, he painted the wrong red." What matters is what's here, and whether or not it sparks something, maybe gives pleasure. So that's more red than I sometimes use, and as I was painting that, I thought, this is exactly the kind of red I've been avoiding for weeks because it's too strong. But it fits in there, and it doesn't matter whether it's a rock or an alligator, it's the red in that corner of the painting, and to me it's sufficient. So the rest of the painting calls for it. I just do what the painting tells me to do, and I have a chance. If I do what I want to do, I ruin the painting right away. And that's more work too, so I don't do it. I paint on thick paper, thick watercolor paper, 300-pound paper, so it's sort of a thing. It's not just a piece of paper, it's something that has its own structure. I wish I could paint like that.